Some people don't listen to understand you. They're listening, taking notes, so that they can remember this truth that you're saying right now later. And once you realize that, you start moving differently. Because opening up is supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to feel like connection, relief, trust, being able to be seen and be related to. But a lot of people, including myself, learned the hard way. Sometimes the things you shared in a vulnerable moment doesn't stay in that moment. It gets saved, put away, just to be remembered and brought back up later, when it can hurt you the most. That's why so many people seem closed off nowadays. It's not that, they don't have feelings. It's just that they've learned not everybody deserves access to them and their truths. And you can see this happen in real time with the public people too. Like right now, everybody's watching Megan Thee Stallion and Klay Thompson. A breakup, emotions, internet reactions, and immediately the world turns pain into content of their own. Either people are laughing at Megan, or people are saying, Klay Thompson's a real G. I mean, they're saying it in other words, but you get what I mean. Some people say, she vented. Some people are saying she's crashing TF out. But either way, that was a real emotional moment. And once it hits the internet, it doesn't belong to you the same way anymore. Now everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got jokes. Everybody's picking sides, laughing at your pain. And half of the people speaking were never even there. They were never supporters of yours in the first place. Now that's the danger of public vulnerability, because pain can be temporary, but the internet definitely makes that pain permanent. Same thing happened with Britney Spears back when I was a teenager. I grew up listening to Britney Spears, but when I was in high school, that moment in time when she shaved her head, people were laughing, people called her crazy, psycho. People turned her breakdown into their own entertainment. And years later, the same society wanted to hold up signs and protest for her freedom outside the courthouses. And I always think about that, because sometimes people don't recognize pain until enough time passes to make them feel guilty about that pain. And that applies in regular life too. Like today at work, I mentioned something personal about myself. Nothing huge really, just something honest. And the second it left my mouth, I instantly thought, why did I say that? Because, some truths feel fine while you're saying them until you remember who you said it to. I was like, they don't need to know that. That's none of their business. That feeling right there, a whole lot of people, I'm sure, know it. You share this, same feeling. You share something real. You let your guard down. You trust the room, right? Then later, you wonder if that information is going to be used differently than you meant for it to. If it's going to be used against you. Because the truth about you can change. You grow. You heal. You mature. Then eventually you move on. But some people freeze you in the version of yourself that was vulnerable in front of them once upon a time. And now they keep relating to that version of you, even though you outgrew that version of you. Oh, I know it can be very frustrating, because you're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to have said something in pain that no longer reflects who you are right now. You're allowed to have told the truth then and have a different truth now. But some people don't update their view of you. They archive you. And when someone throws your old truth in your face later, It starts changing how you move around them. Maybe not with everybody, but definitely with them. You become more careful, more private, more measured, probably calculated. Not because you're fake, but because you've learned. They've already shown you who they are. And that's the difference. Some people call that guarded awareness and wisdom. Because everybody doesn't need the raw version of you. Everybody, doesn't need backstage access. Everybody doesn't know how to hold what you share, with care. And I think a lot of us may be learning that now, especially late millennials like myself, especially in a world where everything gets screenshotted, repeated, misquoted, remembered forever in the digital age. Sometimes silent isn't fear. Sometimes silence is protection. Sometimes privacy is peace. And sometimes the most healed version of you talks less. Not because there's nothing to say, but because you finally learned everything personal doesn't need an audience. And if you've been sitting here this whole time, really listening, think about this. Who in your life makes honesty feel safe for you? And who makes honesty feel like an expense? That answer right there will teach you a lot about your circle. Who's in it and who's not. If this resonated, go ahead, watch the Real Conversations You Need to Hear playlist right below. It connects. I appreciate you for being here. I love you. I'll sit with you the next one. Peace.